in comfort. When you get too comfortable, you stop pushing, you stop grinding, you stop growing. God knows that if he doesn't move something out of your life, you will stay in the same spot thinking it's enough. That's why he shakes your foundation, not to break you, but to wake you up. Think about how life works. When you lose a job you thought you'd retire at, when a person you thought would always be by your side walks away, when that opportunity suddenly slips out of your hands, it feels unfair. But God is saying, I can't let you get stuck here because I have something greater for you. The removal isn't rejection, it's redirection. Growth requires discomfort. If you look at your own life, the biggest transformations came after something got taken away. You didn't change when everything was good. You changed when you had no choice but to fight, adapt, and grow. God breaks your comfort zone because he knows you will never step into destiny while you are sitting in security. Comfort is dangerous because it tricks you into believing you don't need more. You settle for just enough when God wants you to have abundance. That's why he pulls things away. That's why doors close. Because as long as you are comfortable, you won't stretch for the blessing he has waiting. Imagine a bird in a nest. If the nest stays soft and cozy, that bird will never fly. The mother bird starts removing the comfort, poking, making it uncomfortable until the bird spreads its wings. God does the same with you. He makes your nest uncomfortable so you can finally fly. You might feel like you are losing everything, but really you are being forced into your next season. That breakup, that layoff, that shift, it's not punishment, it's preparation. The only way you were ever going to leave your comfort zone was if God removed the comfort. So if God took it away, it's because you were never supposed to stay there in the first place. You were meant to grow. You were meant to elevate. You were meant to rise. And sometimes the only way he can get you to move is by removing the very thing that made you feel safe. You only see today, but God sees tomorrow, next month, 10 years from now. You cry over what was left of you, but God is saying, if you only knew what I just saved you from, that relationship you thought was forever might have destroyed your spirit. That deal you were chasing might have ruined your health. That job you thought you needed might have stolen your peace. God saw it and he pulled it before it could destroy you. When God removes something, it doesn't always make sense in the moment. You question him, you get angry, you ask, why me? But God doesn't operate on your vision, he operates on his. And his vision is perfect. While you are mourning what's gone, he's smiling because he knows what's ahead. Think about a time when you trusted someone who seemed trustworthy on the outside but had bad intentions deep down. You couldn't see it, but God could. And when he made them walk away, you felt abandoned. But later, when the truth came out, you realized it was protection, not punishment. That's how God works. He removes to protect. We often fight God for what he removes. We try to hold on tighter to what he's trying to pull away. But have you ever noticed that no matter how much you try, when God is done, it's done? That's because his vision sees beyond your desire. He knows that if you keep holding on, it'll cost you more later than it hurts right now. God's removal is always strategic. He's like a surgeon cutting away what doesn't belong so you can heal properly. You may see loss, but he sees surgery. You may see emptiness, but he sees space for something better. His perspective is higher and his hands never make mistakes. There are times when you will thank him later for what you don't understand now. You will look back at the very thing you cried over and say, God, I see why you did it. Because what felt like destruction was really protection. What felt like rejection was really direction. So when God removes something from your life, remember, your vision is limited, but his is infinite. You see the pain of the present, but he sees the blessing of what's to come. You can't climb with too much weight on your back. Every step feels harder, every move feels heavier, and eventually you stop moving altogether. That's why God strips people, habits, and situations out of your life. Not to leave you empty, but to lighten your load so you can finally climb to where you are supposed to be. Sometimes you are holding on to things that don't serve you anymore. Old friendships that drain you, bad habits that keep you stuck, relationships that pull more energy than they give. You think you need them, but God knows they are only slowing you down. So he cuts them off, not to hurt you, but to free you. Think about an athlete training for the Olympics. They can't carry extra pounds if they want to run fast. They have to shed everything that doesn't help them win. God does the same with you. He looks at what's weighing you down and says, this has to go or you will never reach your finish line. It feels painful when dead weight is removed because you got used to carrying it. It became normal. You even convinced yourself it was part of who you are. But the truth is, it was never part of your purpose. It was baggage you picked you. Pee along the way, and God had to drop it off before you miss your destiny. Every time you lose something, don't see it as a loss. See it as God cutting off extra weight so you can finally move forward faster. The lighter you are, the easier it is to climb. The easier it is to run. The easier it is to fight for what's ahead. You may feel lonely when the people you thought were your friends leave, but maybe they were the dead weight. You may feel frustrated when doors close, but maybe those doors weren't leading anywhere anyway. God removes the unnecessary so you can focus on the essential. When you finally realize the weight is gone, you will move in ways you couldn't before. You will see opportunities you couldn't see before. You will feel strength you didn't even know you had. Dead weight slows you down, and when God removes it, He's just giving you the freedom to move into your destiny. When God has a plan for your life, He's not including everybody you are trying to drag along. Some people were only meant for a chapter, not the whole book. You are trying to force folks into your future who were only designed for your past. That's why you feel drained when you keep them around. They don't fit where God is trying to send you. You can love them, but love doesn't mean they are part of your destiny. Some people cheered for you when you were on their level, but as soon as God started elevating you, their cheers turned into silence. That's not by accident. God exposes hearts when you rise. He lets you see who celebrates you genuinely and who only claps because you weren't ahead of them yet. Some people can't go where you are going because their hearts can't handle it. You have got dreams bigger than the environment you are standing in. You are talking about vision, about faith, about breaking cycles, and some people just laugh or roll their eyes. That's a sign right there. They don't belong in your next level. God won't let them tag along because their doubt would poison your belief. Their negativity would suffocate your progress. Think about it. If God allowed everyone to go with you, they would water down the blessing. They'd take advantage of what you worked for. And worse, they'd distract you from your purpose. Some people are comfortable with small thinking, and if you keep them close, they will convince you to shrink back down so you don't outgrow them. That's why God has to separate you from certain people before He elevates you. It's not always that they are bad people. Sometimes they are just not assigned to your journey. You are headed for new territory, and God knows they would never survive there. Their mindset is not prepared for where you are going, and their spirit is not built for the weight of your blessing. So God says, I have to remove them so you can step fully into what I designed for you. Look at history. Every great person had to separate from someone to become who they were called to be. Destiny always comes with separation. You can't rise while dragging people who don't want to move. God knows the higher you go, the fewer hands you can hold because everyone can't breathe at high altitudes. So when God starts removing people, don't fight it. He's not subtracting to leave you empty. He's subtracting to protect your promise. He knows not everyone can handle the blessing, the calling, the responsibility, the destiny that's waiting on you. And sometimes the only way forward is to let go of those who can't go with you. When something is removed from your life, it's not always about the loss. It's about the test. G. God wants to know where your trust really lies. Do you trust Him only when things are good, or do you trust Him when it hurts, when you don't understand, when everything looks like it's falling apart? Faith isn't proven when you are comfortable. Faith is proven when God takes something away and you still say, Lord, I believe you. Most of the time we think faith is about what we can gain, but true faith is shown in what we can endure. When the job is gone, when the relationship crumbles, when the door shuts in your face, that's when God watches to see if you will worship the gift or the giver. If the blessing disappears, will you still bow down and call His name? That's the real test of faith. Every time something is removed, it feels like God is subtracting, but He's really refining. He's asking, will you still serve me without it? Will you still believe me even when you don't see the answer yet? That's not punishment, that's training. It's building the kind of faith that can handle the weight of the blessing that's coming next. Testing seasons are uncomfortable because they strip away your props. You can't lean on people the way you used to. You can't rely on resources the way you did before. And you can't escape into distractions that kept you comfortable. All you have left is God, and that's exactly where He wants you, to lean fully on Him without a backup plan. Think about it like this. A teacher doesn't give a test to fail you. A teacher gives a test to promote you. If you are being tested, it means you are ready for the next level. God removes things to see if your faith is strong enough to graduate. And when you pass, He'll release what He's been holding back because you proved you can handle it. Tests reveal who you really are. When you are pressed, when you are stretched, when you are stripped down to nothing but faith, that's when your true character comes out. Some people quit during the test. But those who endure, those who keep trusting, those who keep praising despite the loss, they are the ones who see God's promises unfold in ways they never imagined. So when something is removed, don't just cry about what's gone. Ask yourself, am I passing the test? Because sometimes the only reason God pulled it away was to see if you'd still trust Him without it. And the greater your faith in the test, the greater your breakthrough on the other side. There are times when you keep knocking on a door God has already locked. You are begging for it to open. You are crying for it to swing back, but God has already sealed it shut because He knows what's behind it isn't for you anymore. It's human nature to want what's familiar, but God isn't in the business of keeping you stuck in the familiar. He's in the business of pushing you into what's greater, and sometimes that requires a closed door. Closed doors don't always feel fair. You wanted that promotion, you wanted that opportunity, you wanted that person to stay, and when it didn't happen, you thought God forgot you. But what you call rejection, God calls protection. He shut that door because He knew it would have cost you more than it would have given you. A door that looks good from the outside might lead to destruction on the inside, and God loves you too much to let you walk through it. Every closed door is a redirection. When one path ends, God isn't saying you are done. He's saying, look this way. The problem is we're so busy staring at the door that slams shut, we don't see the new one He's already opening. Sometimes He has to let that old one close so tightly that you can't reopen it just so you will soar. Stop looking back and finally start looking forward. Think about your own life. How many times did a door close and you were devastated only to find out later it was the best thing that ever happened to you? That breakup that crushed you ended up making space for someone better. That job you thought you needed falling apart opened the way for a career you never imagined. That friendship ending gave you peace you didn't even know you were missing. Closed doors always lead to something better, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. God doesn't just shut random doors. He shuts specific ones that don't align with your destiny. You might see it as an opportunity lost, but God sees it as a distraction removed. You think you missed out, but God knows if you had gone through it, you would have missed the blessing He designed with your name on it. He's strategic. He doesn't close doors without already having another one prepared. The pain of a closed door is part of the preparation. It builds your patience. It forces your faith. It humbles your heart. You learn how to stop depending on your own plan and start trusting God's plan. And once that lesson is learned, the new door always shows up bigger, wider, greater than the one you cried over. The shut door wasn't the end of your story. It was just the end of a chapter that had already served its purpose. So when a door shuts, don't stand there pounding on it until your hands bleed. Step back, breathe, and realize God has a better one waiting. Because every closed door isn't a punishment. It's an announcement that something greater is on the way. And the only reason that old door had to shut was to make room for what's coming next. There are times in life when you get so consumed with something that you stop focusing on God. It could be a relationship, a job, money, or even your own success. You don't mean to drift, but slowly your heart gets wrapped up in the gift instead of the giver. And when God sees that you are starting to idolize something temporary, He will step in and remove it, not because He wants to hurt you, but because He refuses to lose you. Distractions are dangerous because they disguise themselves as blessings. That person you thought was everything you needed might have started pulling your attention away from prayer. That opportunity you thought was perfect might have taken all your time and left you with no energy to spend with God. When your relationship with Him gets pushed into the background, He knows He has to act. And when he removes what's in the way, it's his way of bringing you back to him. You may not see it at first because distractions feel good in the moment. They make you feel loved, secure, accomplished, and comfortable. But slowly, they eat away at your spiritual strength. God sees that before you do, so he steps in to cut it off. It hurts because you were attached to it, but the removal is really about saving your soul before it's too late. Think about how a parent reacts when their child gets attached to something harmful. The child may cry, scream, or may not understand why the toy or object is being taken away, but the parent knows it's dangerous. God is the same way. He sees the danger in what you are clinging to, and even though you don't understand, he removes it for your protection. Distractions don't just waste time, they delay destiny. Every minute you spend obsessing over something God never meant for you is a minute you are not walking in your purpose. That's why he doesn't play with distractions. He'll let you taste them, but he won't let you keep the sharpen him forever. When he removes it, he's saying, I've got too much for you to do to let this thing slow you down. Sometimes the biggest test is how you respond when God takes away what you thought you couldn't live without. Will you chase after it, or will you turn back to him? Because the whole purpose of the removal is to remind you that nothing in this world can be more important than the one who gave you life in the first place. He's not trying to punish you. He's trying to bring you back into alignment. So when something suddenly leaves your life, check your heart. Ask yourself if that thing had taken God's place in your life. Because when God removes what distracts you, he's clearing the space for intimacy, focus, and obedience. He wants to make sure your eyes are fixed on him, because the closer you stay to him, the further you will go in life. Nobody likes pain. Nobody wakes up praying for heartbreak, betrayal, loss, or disappointment. But if you look back at your life, the moments that shaped you the most were the ones that hurt the deepest. Pain is a teacher that comfort can never be. Pain stretches you in ways that ease never will. God allows certain painful removals because he knows that without the hurt, you'd never grow into who you were meant to be. When everything is smooth, you don't question much. You settle, you get comfortable, but the second pain shows up, it shakes your entire world. You are forced to think differently, to act differently, to become stronger. That's why God doesn't always stop the pain, because he knows the lesson in it is preparing you for the blessing that's coming after it. Without the pain, you wouldn't be equipped to handle what's ahead. Pain strips away your illusions. It shows you who's real in your life, who truly cares, and who was just there for the benefits. Pain reveals your own strength too. You don't know how much you can handle until life hits you hard. And when you survive what you thought would break you, that's growth, that's character, that's faith being built brick by brick. Think about a seed in the ground. It can't grow until it's buried in darkness, pressured by the soil, and pushed by the struggle to reach the surface. That pressure is painful, but it's the only way it can sprout. You are no different. The pressure you are under, the pain you are feeling, it's not to destroy